This video is all about our chicken pen and the integrated composting system. We will have a look at some different aspects related to chicken husbandry and compost making. But since you are watching a permaculture channel, we will first have a look at how the chicken area blends in with the rest of the garden and how it is connected to the other nearby elements. The chicken composting area is surrounded by the vegetable garden, the passive solar greenhouse with the attached tool shed, and the compost toilet. All these areas are placed in such a way that they support each other and share resources and connections. The compost building, for example, does not only protect our compost from too much rain, it also shelters the vegetable garden from cold winds. It gathers a lot of rainwater, which is important because rainwater is the only available water source to us on this property. The structure has a table for processing harvests attached to it and is used as a trellis for one of our grapes. The chicken pen with the integrated composting system is an area in our garden where many nutrient cycles close and start. We bring in kitchen waste, grass clippings and hay to recycle it to high-quality compost while producing nutrient-rich eggs. It is also very convenient that old plant material from the vegetable garden can be easily thrown over the fence into the composting area. If we then harvest the finished compost, the garden beds are also just a few steps away. All of these simple connections make working a joy, and it is efficient too. So let's take a closer look at the chicken area. It is divided into two sections. First, there's the main area with the chicken coop and the composting area. Here the chickens spend most of their time and help us making compost. The second area is the grazing area, where the chickens are allowed to graze a few hours a day. In this way they have access to fresh greens regularly, without overgrazing the area. But for now, we will switch our attention back to the main area and look at some details. First, let's have a look at the ground. As you can see, the whole ground is covered with hay. There are two reasons for this. On the one hand, it never stinks in the chicken area because the manure of the chickens, which is very high in nitrogen, immediately ends up on the carbon-rich hay. And on the other hand, we get clean eggs even when it rains for a long time. As bonus, you have happy chickens that love to scratch and look for small insects in the mulch. Next, let's have a look at the plants. The goal with plants in a chicken pen is to provide them with a natural surrounding and some additional feed. Chickens originate in Southeast Asia, where they mostly lived in the edges of forests. So we planted a mulberry tree in the middle of the area, and along the fence we planted hazel, aronia, currants, willows and Jerusalem artichokes. The chickens love to eat the different berries as they ripen. And we can shake the mulberry tree in summer for additional food once it becomes a bigger tree. As long as the plants are small, we protect their root zones with small chunks of wood and some fencing. Our chicken coop is 2 meters long and 1.4 meters wide, and has two nests that we can access from outside. The coop has an automatic door and a tunnel at the entrance with a plastic curtain. The curtain stops sparrows from entering the chicken coop and eating the chicken feed. This works quite well, only now and then you see a sparrow inside the coop. The chickens sleep on two branches which are 4 to 5 centimeters in diameter. This is ideal for their feed. Below is a board where the manure collects and can easily be removed. The board is set at a 45-degree angle to prevent the chickens from walking on it. For the rest of the coop, we use a deep litter system with wood chips that are replaced once a year. Unfortunately, we now and then have red mites in the chicken coop. So we filled any gaps in the branches where they sleep on. In this way, the mites can't hide there. And on the walls nearby, We left some gaps so that the mites gather in these gaps. Once a month I use a lighter to get rid of most of the mites. This works out very well and takes very little time. We feed our chickens mostly with soaked grains, which is one of their favorite things to eat. We soak the grains in water in our tool shed for 1 day. But in the chicken pen there are many things more that provide some additional feed to our chickens. We have a very small and shallow pond where they can find all kinds of insect larvae and also can cool their feet in summer. They also love to drink the water from the small pond. We also have large pieces of wood lying around with free food underneath. And of course they find a lot of food in our composting area. Our composting system is very simple. Here we collect all kinds of kitchen and garden wastes, shredded cuttings from trees, grass clippings and hay from our meadow. We use the big chunks of wood to border the area so that the chickens don't spread the material all over the place. The chickens will work through the material, pick all the seeds out of it and drop their rich manure. Once we gathered enough material, we simply throw everything together into one of our composting boxes. Most of the time the mixture is pretty ideal. Only in some cases we need to add more brown material, which we have a lot of conveniently stored in the large container next to our composting base. We water the pile so the composting process starts and protect it with some frames. If we wouldn't do this, the chickens would immediately start to take the pile apart before it gets hot and cooking. And hot composting is great because we get the best quality possible and all leftover seeds in it will decay. It takes our compost about 10 weeks from assembling the pile until ripening. If we use the compost for starting seedlings, we sieve it with some old fencing on top of a wheelbarrow. We do not do this if we use it on the garden beds. The sieving process is always an absolute highlight for our chickens. They know that there is a lot of insect larvae to find in the finished compost. Once a hen finds something good to eat, everybody else will try to steal it from her. So this was a small tour through our chicken pen with the integrated composting area. If you liked this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. I very appreciate it. Thanks for watching and see you next time. So Paula, how is your experience living in this chicken pen?